So we're gonna go ahead and get started on our locker hooking today. So what you need to do before you start, oh sorry Renee, before you start this part is you should have gone around your entire border with that whip stitch that I taught you. So your entire border should be covered with your whip stitch, and then you are ready to start locker hooking. So this is the specific hook that we use for locker hooking. It has a hook on one end and it has the little eye on the other end. This is really the only tool that will work for this process, okay? So we're gonna need that. And then you're also going to need some of this string, and you want this white cotton string. This is called, I normally use this with weaving for the warp. And this is that nice, strong, thick string that's not going to break on you, okay? So I just cut this about as long as my arm span. And what you're going to do is secure it into a corner. So if I had already done my borders, I would be securing this right here, like about as close to my borders as I can get. And I am just going to tie it in a little double knot to go ahead and get it started. Okay? Now locker hooking kind of looks a little bit more complicated than it is. Once you get started, it's actually pretty daggone simple and it goes by pretty quickly. There's a little bit of a learning curve to get the hang of it, but once you get the hang of it, it does get easy. So I've got this attached to my grid, and that is what's actually going to hold everything in place. And that's why it's called locker hooking, because you're locking it in place with this string, okay? Now I'm going to thread the other end of this string through the eye of this hook, and I'm ready to get started. So I want this knot to be on the bottom, so I'm going to come one up to the top. So I've got the knot down here on the bottom, and I'm coming up to the top. Now I'm going to get my first color strip. And the key here is we are going to be creating a stitch in every single one of these squares. So getting started is the hardest part, and then it gets easier. So I'm going to hold the strip underneath the grid, and I'm going to go in the square that I want to be this color. So maybe I want this to be my first color. I'm going to go in, pick up a piece of this strip, get it on the hook, come out the same hole I went in, and now I have one loop on the hook, okay? Now I'm going to go in the next hole. So I'm going to go in this hole. I'm going to pick up another strip, come right back out through the same hole I went in. Now I have two loops on the hook. Go in the next hole, pick up the strip, and come out. Now I have three loops on the hook. And it's up to you how many hooks you want to have, how many loops you want to have on the hook before you lock it in. But 3 is good to start, so I have 3. Now to lock it in, I'm just going to slide this through. And there we go. So now these are locked into place. And I can let them go. So now I can keep going. So if I wanted to keep the green going this way, I can go this way. I could turn with the green. If I just wanted to create a square here, I could turn and go like this. But I'm going to show you for the sake of it to go straight again. So I'm going to go into this hole. Back here, I'm going to pick up a bit of the strip. Come back through this same hole. Oops, I dropped it. Go in, pick it up, come back through the same hole. So I have one hook on the loop, and you'll find the way of holding it that is comfortable for you. Everybody's going to probably have their own way of holding it, their own way of pulling through the square, their own way of wrapping it. You're going to have to find what feels comfortable for you, and that's probably part of the learning curve, is just finding the way that you want to hold it. When you find the way that you want to hold it and the way that feels comfortable for you, you're going to be able to rock and roll. I mean, look how fast I'm going. Going in, picking up the strip, coming out. Going in, picking up the strip, coming out. Now, I have a ton of loops on my hook right now, and all you do to lock them in is you go ahead and pull through. You let this string come on through tight, and now all of these are locked in, okay? Now I'm going to show you how to turn. So turning is very simple. Instead of going to the next one here, I just would go here. Pick up my loop, pull it on through. Go in, pick up my loop, go on through. Now, for your project to be finished, you have to have a loop, a locker hook in every single square, okay? So you have to consider what color every single square is going to be, and try to be strategic about, you know, the direction that you go with the locker hooking, so that you can fill every square with the color that you want. All right. And then when you're attaching a new string onto the end, it's the same way as when we were attaching the strips on your border. You just cut a little notch here, You get your next color. Stick my next color in. Cut a little notch in this one. And then I'm gonna stick the other end in there. And I like to just add the strips as I go. Somebody in my last class asked me, well, can I just go ahead and connect all my strips and go? But I recommend just connecting them as you go and as you need them, because that way it won't get all tangled. So you know when you're ready to switch colors, or you know when you're ready to, you know, when you're running out, then just go ahead and do that. So are there any questions that would be useful for the demo video for you to ask now?
I'm confused on how you started it.
How I started it?
Yes.
Okay, I can show you guys that again. So let me cut this off and I'll show you how to start it again. All right, so somebody had just asked me to show how to start it again. So all I'm going to do is wherever I want to start, you need to connect this string into the grid, okay? So I'm connecting this string by just tying a knot wherever I want to get started. And I'm like anchoring this in here, okay? So this string is anchored on there, nice and strong, okay? And then it is threaded through here. And so if I wanted to start with, let me pick a different color. Let me cut this so it's not in the way. All right, so if I wanted to start with this color, I'm here, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and come up. And I always hold the strip underneath, okay? So I'm holding the strip underneath, and getting started is the hardest part, and then you're good to go. So I'm holding the strip down here. I'm going to pick my first hole that I want to go in. So maybe I pick this hole right here. I'm going to pick up the strip. I'm just basically hooking it onto my hook, getting a piece of it. I'm trying to show that here. So I'm going through here. I'm just picking up a piece of this near the end and coming back through. Okay, so it's just it's just like looped around my hook. I'm gonna go in the next one. Like that, hook it around my hook. And so some people find that when they're pulling it through, they twist the hook. So see how I have the hook? Some people will twist this to grab it easier. The way that you hold it is just gonna be your own comfort. And then you just keep going. And then when you have enough on your hook, you just pull through and it locks it into place. And there might be a little bit of a learning curve, but once you get the hang of it, like I said, it's going to be easy. But at first, it might be a little bit tricky, okay? Any other questions that would be helpful for me to demonstrate on this video?
What if you wanted to switch colors? Like,
No, people that want to start now.
If I wanted to switch colors, you could just leave this hanging in the back. We'll address it later and get the next color and then just start picking up the next color. You don't need to switch your string. You can just switch the strip. That's a good question, Lauren. Okay, any other questions?